think we all want to know first what position group you're going to be working with.
You know, that's something that we're still talking through, obviously, as we complete everything here. That's probably more a question that will be down the road. To answer your question, Rob, I've worked through my 21 years of coaching, different areas. I've spent a lot of my time with bigs, the frontline court guys over the years. Have done some stuff with the guards. So very familiar, whichever area, whichever group I, will be with a lot. I'll be ready for it. Don't have any preference at all. So.
All right. I see a bunch of people have questions. I'll just ask one more that everybody should be asking, which is the transition from a non-coaching role to a coaching role and a lot of traveling, and how that's going to affect raising 3 kids and your time. How's that thought process been for you?
It's exciting. I'm sure my wife is ready for me to be away more often. Rob, I've been recruiting in that aspect for 15 years before I got here. It's something I love to do. I love building relationships. I love that aspect. So I'm anxious. I'm ready to get back on the road, get out and about, watch guys that obviously we've been talking with and communicating with and so forth. But no, I love that part of it, getting out, meeting new people, evaluating, all those things I enjoy doing. Looking forward to it.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Geoff, hope you're well. Congrats. I'm just wondering, what's this mean for you to have this chance as a Big Ten assistant?
Well, Jeremy, I've told a lot of people here over the last 2 or 3 days, reaching out and all that. I'm living a dream. Growing up in the state, knowing how big of a program this is and what it's has always been. I'm living a dream. Like I said, I'm anxious. I've been, in a role the last 4 years that's obviously had some restrictions and so forth. I've been able to do some things that moving forward, I can continue to carry on with relationships and calls that I've been making to my, people my contact and so forth over the years, and building off of those as we move forward. But getting back, I'm ecstatic. I love this program. I love this school. I love this state. I'm going to give everything I got to it. I'm humbled. I know all the great coaches that's been in this seat over the years, and I respect that a whole lot. And like I said, just really excited and ready to get going.
And you mentioned you've been recruiting for almost a decade and a half before this. So I'm just wondering, does anything change recruiting for a Big Ten program, or how do you feel you kind of fit into this staff recruiting wise?
Recruiting's, everything's relationship based. It's contacts that I've had and built over the last 21 years are contacts moving forward I'm going to use and really dig into, and I'm going to continue building others. From where I've been to now, obviously, we'll be recruiting elite guys. You still go back to your resources. You still go back to the people that you lean on over the years. And I feel very strong about those people. I think they're ready to really be, a helpful resource for me and in our program, and just keep building.
Thanks, Geoff. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Geoff, nice to meet you. Alec Bussey. In the press release, Coach Underwood mentioned that some of your connections are in the international game and overseas. Can you kind of explain how those connections developed and where those different connections, I guess, are?
Sure. I've been kind of in the international market for 20 years, ever since I first started this, going back to South America, to the European clubs, in places I've been. I've had to dig into those deeply. In some years in the past, we've had 4 or 5 international guys. It's been a strong point for me. Just the connections over the years and traveling over there to the different FIBA tournaments and so forth, interacting with that scene and those people, and continuing those contacts over the years, it's been a strong point for me. And as far as specifics, I don't want to get into like specific areas, countries and all that, but obviously the European markets, very, very intriguing with the skill level and the size of those guys. And, obviously with where our brand is now, we're going to continue to stay heavy in that market.
So you mentioned the importance of staying heavy in the European market and overseas. Why is it so important for you and your program to really kind of continue to go overseas and get players from not just the continental United States?
Sure. I think it's systematically they fit. They're a really good fit for what we do. The skill set, the size, the length. Those guys are the way they're brought up in their clubs over there. It's impressive. They've been playing at high levels throughout their years with national teams and all that. They've got great IQ. Those are the type of guys that really fit what we do. Not saying it's going to be exclusive in some of those areas, but we will get deep into those with their skill level that those guys have. And obviously the success that we've had over the years here with guys. I mean, that's been a big part of our roster building with guys, from the international market. And like I said, I'll keep going there.
Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it. Nice meeting you.
No problem, Alex. Good to meet you.
Coach, I'm curious about growing up in Illinois. You're hour 15 away from Champaign. Were you a fan at the time? Were you did you follow the Illini in the early 90s? What was your kind of upbringing, growing
Sure.
up an hour 15 away from Champaign?
And I'll correct you. I can make it house from door to door in 1 hour. That's
okay.
That's a little heavy foot there. I know.
What do the Clinton police think about that?
You got to lighten up through there.
Yeah.
I grew up an Illini fan my entire life. Grew up going to Lou Henson camps, idolizing the Kendall Gills, the Kenny Battles, all the greats from when I was young. And then obviously in a pretty kind of a neat section of my life is when right when I was finishing playing is kind of when Brian Cook was coming up and going through, obviously my dad, my family being very, very close to him and his family, watching the recruiting process and his 4 years here. Came to a lot of games here over those years. Was a very, very special time. And, I'm just, like I said, at the beginning, I'm on cloud 9. I haven't come down since this all come out, and just really, really anxious to get on the grind, get out and about, get, out in front of these guys, in the next coming weeks, and just ready to get going.
So given that background, Coach Underwood told this kind of famous story when he was hired that, I think the basketball secretary at Western Illinois asked him to write down his dream job, and he wrote down Illinois, and then he was back here. Did you have any specific goals of hoping to coach here someday, or, being in Champaign?
Absolutely. And the University of Illinois is my dream job. It's my pinnacle job. It's what I've watched growing up. It's what I know. I think it's the best of the best. And I'm excited what we've done in the past 4 years. We've gotten this program to elite status and to a level that our brand is super, super strong. Recruiting's different from when we first got here. We were trying to sell hope back then. Now we're selling actual stuff that they've seen, success. Recruits now, it's just different. They're calling to us. Their people are calling to us. They've seen our culture, obviously the past year, 2 years. And I think it's something that kids now are excited to see and want to be a part of. It's just a different time for us as far as the recruiting thing.
Thanks.
Yep.
Hey, Geoff, great to see you. Congratulations.
Good
From
to see you.
what's up? From a recruiting standpoint, how much value do you see the fact that you were in this program with O and Shannon, those guys, when you're finding that success, like how you attained that and how you guys were able to recruit at such a high level? Does that provide you a value now that you transition into that role and are the lead recruiter yourself?
Obviously learned a lot from those guys. Close friends. We went through a lot of, obviously, some tough times early to a lot of really good times late. Worked very, very closely in a lot of aspects with those, including the recruiting. We're going to continue diving into those contexts that, I think we've built a lot of trust with. They believe in us. They believe in our program, our culture. And we're going to keep going back to those. As far as Chester's bringing in new contacts, new energy. The other spot who we end up going with will bring in new contacts. And when you put all that stuff together, knowing just the type of guys that fit our culture and what we're about. Those are the type of guys we'll continue going after, and it's going to take obviously a lot of effort. We're going to be grinders. We're going to be out in front of them constantly. We're going to be relentless. And you put that with where the brand is and what we've done the last couple of years and where things are at, I think we can continue and build off of where we've been. And, that's getting really good players. That's the obvious. And, I just think, what we've done with the respect that we have out of these people that have heavy relationships with these elite guys. Again, I just think it's a different time for us recruiting.
How big of a priority has it been for you to bridge relationships with the current roster, with the newcomers that are signed up to come in, and to make sure that all still holds place for you guys?
Sure, and that's obviously with the change in staff. Obviously that's priority one is the in-house stuff. As you've seen, every guy's strong. Our culture is strong. We haven't had any guys that's had wavered. They feel great about what they're getting into and what's going to take place in 2 to 3 weeks when they get here. It's the relationship you're always building with the new guys. We're talking to them daily, talking to their families, making sure everything's smooth in the transition from when they get here. And then the guys returning obviously have very, very strong, close relationships with every single one of them. And that won't change, and that'll continue to get stronger and stronger. And Chester's obviously been great with communicating with those guys, here in the past week or two, getting to know them and so forth. But, they get on campus here in a few weeks and we'll be ready, and everything will be ready to go.
Nice, Geoff.
Yep.
Hey, Geoff, how you doing?
Good.
Good. I guess to follow up what Derek asked, I mean, young people are adaptable, but do you feel like it's important that with the changes this offseason that you're a familiar face to these guys, and maybe that makes them a little more comfortable kind of with things moving forward? Sure.
And that's being around these guys. Obviously last year, the COVID year, was different. But the 3 years prior to that, obviously I was, not allowed to leave campus. So I was here around them every single day. And I do feel, relationships and that with the current guys is strong. And it is important. when there's change, having a familiar face and having somebody that, they've been around and will continue doing that and making sure everything's good on their end and making sure everything's handled.
So you've had this different role, the last 4 years. Just do you feel like that's, changed or altered just kind of the way you view, coaching, or maybe you'll bring things from, your staff role, back to the court, back to recruiting?
There's no doubt, Scott. There's no doubt. You always reflect. You're always trying to find ways to be better. Being off the court and watching from the side, yeah, there are areas that I feel like I've gained valuable experience and knowledge and things that I may look at a little different when I am inside those lines. And the thing that was in my position for last year especially, there's some of those restrictions were taken off. For instance, I was able to be on the floor a little bit last year in a certain capacity. I was able to make specific recruiting calls due to the COVID year. So that, this last year has been a little different. It's now making the transition to on the court a little bit easier in recruiting because of those restrictions that were taken off last year.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Geoff.
Yep.
Hey, Geoff, good to see you again.
Joey, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, I'm curious, your dad obviously has coached at Lincoln forever. Your brother is on his staff and will likely at some point, we think, maybe take over for him. You've got some nephews who are down at Blackburn and playing there. What has basketball meant to your family, both growing up and kind of how has it shaped you into who you are now?
Basketball is obviously our family. Grew up ever since I was little. I've been part of a team and been a part of my dad's teams growing up from a very, very early age, being in the gym every day, being at practices, being part of something, and just seeing, how important relationships are and how they, materialize over the years and so forth. Obviously my dad's coached for a long, long time and has done it the right way. He pushes his guys, at a level throughout the 12 months that basically it's like a college program, the way he runs it. And I've been able to see that, up front and, for a long, long time, and just seeing the success that he's had and, the system that he puts out. It's been incredible. And then obviously having a brother who I think is really, really good. I think he's been ready for a head coaching job for a while, and just proud of where he is and, what he's got coming. My nephews, obviously, it's a different dynamic, Joey. I got my oldest nephew coaches the younger nephew. They had a great year this year and won their league. So super, super proud. Basketball is our family, and mom and sister have always been a big part of it. I've been blessed. I've been blessed to be around a great game and around a great bunch of great, coaches and players. And I'm, like I said, super blessed.
What was it like for you to call your dad and your brother and let them know that this promotion was official and it had all gone through?
Yeah, it was neat, man. Joey, it was really neat. I will say my dad got emotional. He knows I've worked long and hard for this. This has been a dream, and I've always knew I was going to coach, Joey. I just I didn't know that I wanted to do at this level until, and I know the specific time when we went to Indianapolis way back, my dad and myself. It was the championship game with Duke and Kansas. And from that point on, I knew I wanted to do this. And I'll never forget that. He was a guy that took me and exposed me to a lot of different things as a young kid that ultimately kind of pushed me to this direction and wanting to do this at the highest level. And, like I said, I'm blessed. and super, super excited.
Thanks, Geoff. Appreciate it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Sorry, I'm up now. Congratulations, Geoff.
Scott, thank you.
Yeah. What are you most excited about on the coaching side? I mean, you just talked about the recruiting piece, but working with players, being on the sideline and actively a part of the game and practices, I assume. What are you excited about with that?
Sure. No, just most excited just to get back on the court and just to be in the mix again. Coaching, getting everybody, trying to get guys better every single day, maximizing, workouts, film sessions, every which way, every resource we have to help our guys get better each and every day. That I look forward to that most, first and foremost. Obviously the recruiting part, I'm, ready to get back out there and get in the fire of that. Obviously, everybody's been away from it for 18 months. Everybody's eager to get out and get in front of these guys again and watch them play. And I'm at the same point. It's been 4 years for me, and just getting back out there and seeing these guys play live and compete. And I'm anxious for that. I'm ready for that.
I know winning is really satisfying, but is there another aspect to you that brings fulfillment as a coach? Is it the development or the relationships with the guys?
Well, the relationships, relationships are first and foremost for me. They're special, they're intimate, they're something that I hold dearly to. Guys I coached 20 years ago, I still communicate with, frequently. I think that's, when you work as hard as we do and there's so much at stake, if you don't have relationships at the end of the day, I don't know why we'd be in it. Yeah, we need to win. We're going to win. But I went to a wedding this past weekend from a kid I coached 10 years ago and watched him, start a life with his new wife. And that stuff's important to me, when you're able to have really, really solid relationships, it allows you to have trust with them. And when you have trust, you can coach them and help develop it. And that is what I believe is an approach that is a successful approach and what I'll continue to do.
And most of the time when I've asked assistants this question, everybody says they're very content where they are. You've talked about this being a dream, but if you'd permit 5-10 years down the road, do you hope to be a head coach somewhere?
Ultimately, I do want to be a head coach, Scott. That's my goal. It's been my goal. But obviously I'm at a place right now and with somebody that I love dearly. I've got, obviously, we've had fun. We've built this thing the last 2 years to get it back to an area where it should be. There's still work to be done, Scott. We're not satisfied from what's been done, and there's still, a hill to climb, and we're trying to get to the top of it. And I love what Coach is putting together. I love Chester Frazier. I love our group that's, Fletch, Joey, Zach, everybody here that's going to be, in the boat, rowing the same way, the same time, and, ultimately trying to get to that mountaintop.
Thanks a lot. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Again, or, in a new way.
Yeah.
Hey, Geoff, congratulations. Obviously you and Brad go way back, but I'm wondering what made you, as somebody who wanted to get into college coaching, like what made you believe in Brad as an individual way back when?
Sure. So Gavin, I played for Brad. Played for him at Western Illinois from 97 to 99. And then I was on staff with him there from 2000 to 2002. So kind of a unique deal. I played for him, and then I worked alongside of him on staff with him. Brad has always been, I believe, one of the best at getting the most out of his guys, maximizing individuals. And not saying I was a great player, Gavin, but I saw earlier on how he was with myself and my teammates, and it was contagious. I wanted to be a part of him. I wanted to develop and to help young men like Brad helped me. And I think he does it in a special way. You know, he has special relationships with guys, and I was no different. And you know, knowing that I wanted to be a college coach, and knowing how good he was back in Macomb, and playing for him, you know, obviously we were super close, and it just kept, you know, the calls kept going every single day when we were apart from each other. And then we rejoined each other at Daytona and had 3 really good years down in Florida. Had really good players, won a bunch of games. And then from there, we kind of, he went to K-State and I went to Idaho State. So, and then obviously we get back together 4 years ago. So knowing, to answer your question, Gavin, like always known the way he coached me, approached me, I wanted to kind of do the same and proceed that way. So hope that answers your question. But for a long time, 25 years.
What makes, you know, Brett has won at every stop that he's gone to. What do you think has enabled him to do that?
First and foremost, obviously his vision and understanding how important that locker room is, and your core, your culture. If you don't have that, it's hard to win just in general. You can have all the talent, the best talent in the world. If you're not connected, if your locker room's not strong, you're going to have a hard time winning games. That has always been a huge thing that Brad has always held his hat on. From there, you get it to the court. His teams has always played as hard as anybody. That's been a common theme across the board. He gets his guys to play to the maximum level and effort. And then just his ability, both on both ends, just to take, you know, a system on the offensive end and put guys in space, and being adaptive. He's always been adaptive. It's not one thing. He adjusts to his talent. He adjusts to his strengths of his talent. And, you know, you combine all those, Gavin, I think that's, you know, why he's been really good everywhere he's stopped.
All right. Thank you.
Geoff, James Boyd here with the Herald and Review.
What's up, James?
How have you met? Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
How have you and Chester Frazier, I guess, meshed early on here?
Fantastic. Full of energy. Obviously, he bleeds orange and blue. I think he's passionate. He's got a motor on the recruiting scene that's nonstop. He's a pit bull, is what I call him. He's relentless. And we obviously have built a strong relationship early. We talked numerous times a day. When he was in town, we spent a lot of time together. He's a guy, when you got that much passion for something, it's easy to kind of mesh with. So excited, ready for he and his family. Obviously, he's in the transition of making the move, but when he and his family get here, we'll obviously spend a whole bunch of time together.
And then as far as transitioning, do you think it's easier to transition, I guess, this year, hopefully like looser restrictions in regards to COVID and things like that?
It was definitely
last year?
It definitely has. Like I said, I was on the floor and was able to do some things with limitations on the floor last year. And then obviously recruiting, there was some restrictions taken off from my standpoint that allowed me to do things, in which I think it's helped in this transition early on. I was able to make phone calls last year that I probably wouldn't have been able to make the first 3 years, that ultimately now has put me in a good spot moving forward.
Last one for me. I know you've been with Underwood for a while now, so is he getting a little old to you?
What's that?
I said, I know you've been with Underwood for a while now, so is he getting a little old to you?
shoot, he looks young. You know, look at him over the past year. He's getting younger and younger to me, man.
Okay.
You know, he drops all that weight. He's starting to look like he's 30 again.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
We're circling back around. I'll point out to people who haven't seen a lot of you in the last few years, Geoff, that you too have lost weight and you look fantastic.
I appreciate that, Rob. I appreciate that.
Talk about Pocatello and how you recruited there versus how much things have changed in the 21st century in recruiting, where when I was a kid, everybody had a playground in every town where they played basketball. Now maybe nobody does. Do you see yourself driving more to like St. Louis or flying more to Vilnius?
Both. And Rob, kind of to get back to your first question, things obviously has gotten different. You know, that was 15 years ago in Pocatello when, you know, I took my first Division I job. It was more regional based, recruiting was then. Now, being in Idaho, we didn't really have a backyard there. So we had to find areas, our contacts, and go to our strengths. And, you know, obviously finding areas, Memphis, Tennessee was very strong for me, going there 3-4 times a month. You know, it has changed. Obviously, the transfer portal thing has completely flipped the landscape of recruiting. Being able to understand that and how that works is important. And that's something, even with grad transfers over the past couple of years, I've been able to dive in here on campus and be part of. And, you know, that's not going to go away. We're going to have to be, you know, very, very upfront and prepared with that. There's a timing thing with the portal. A lot of times, if you're seeing that name pop up in there, you know, a lot of things have already happened with that. So, you know, that's been helpful. I'm going to go everywhere I can as far as my strengths and network. And, you know, obviously you mentioned Vilnius, spent a lot of time in Lithuania over the years, and it's been very good for me. And I will continue to go there.
All right, thanks.
Hey, Geoff, I had a quick follow-up about you and Brad losing all that weight. Was that together? Was that who inspired who, and how did you do it?
I would say we probably inspired each other. It got competitive. It started obviously in the quarantine, early on in the quarantine. And obviously that was when it was just phone calls and FaceTimes amongst each other. But, you know, if there was a day he did 11 miles and I had only had 9, I was, you know, at 10 o'clock at night, I was getting out and getting 2 more miles. But it was fun, kept us busy, kept our minds right. And, you know, it's been good. It's been really good.
Can I ask how much did you lose?
I'm at 66 pounds right now.
Wow. Congratulations, man. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Geoff, sorry to take away from the gloating here about your weight loss. That's something I'm kind of jealous of. But your dad being a high school coach for so long, I'm sure he has so many connections across the state. How beneficial can that be for you recruiting high school players in the state of Illinois?
Sure. You know, that's obviously, this is my home base, born, raised, grown up here. I know a lot of people within the state, and that will be a primary area for myself. He's been super helpful in a lot of those ways, and not just now, but growing up, introducing me, you know, to people that to this day are still friends and very, very helpful in a lot of areas. So, you know, to answer your question, yes, for all of us, just, you know, this state is priority number one, and you know, then we'll go elsewhere.